Hi, I'm Brad Listi,
And I'm Mira Gonzalez,
and
and
we
we're
are
here
here
for
for
the
the culture.
culture.
No cap, bass, bussin', touch grass.
For the culture. Tell them what we're doing, Brad.
I think we are doing a new kind of show, like a new weekly episode, as an experiment to see how it goes and to see what the listener response is, where you and I talk to each other about our
hmm
lives, and then we also talk about something that I don't know that much about, which is pop culture.
He says he doesn't know a lot about it, and yet I think I've gotten maybe at least a dozen texts being like, what's the deal with Taylor Swift? I don't get this whole Taylor Swift thing. Sending me tweets. And like, I'm like a devout Swiftie, but like sending me tweets that I haven't even seen about Taylor Swift being like, what does this mean? What's happening? What's going on? Like news about her just like instantly. Like, you're really like up on that at least. Like, what
Well,
confuses you? You're up on what confuses you.
that's right. That's right. So this is a way for me to be confused. And I feel like, Mira, you're kind of my sounding board on pop culture because I feel like you know more about it than I do. And I'm trying to decode and understand. But that there is also, I think, a generational thing happening. We are how many years apart? I'm
Well,
48. You're
I'm
what?
32.
Okay. So there's 16 years between us.
Yeah.
And so there's a generational divide that I think is maybe interesting that we're trying to bridge often.
Yeah.
And
Also, I just care too much about celebrities and pop culture, and I like, rot my brain with it in a way that you don't. So I'm trying to like give you some of my brain worms.
yes, exactly. You're trying to toxify me.
Yeah,
So
exactly, and detoxify myself in the meantime.
yeah, so this is what this is going to be. Where I guess like my literary episodes are more highbrow, and this is going to be more middle to lowbrow
Hell yeah, I love
and
trash.
and improvisational. And I guess like we just before we get into like the meat of the conversation culturally, should just like catch up on a personal level. Like
Yeah,
how are you doing? You're doing all right. We're not doing video for this episode because we both have skin conditions.
yeah, we both had allergic reaction to various skincare products that we tried for the first time over the weekend.
Yeah. So what's going on with you?
Well, let's see. I went to a very fancy wedding this weekend, and so I got myself a new foundation because apparently you're supposed to get a new foundation once a year, even though it takes me like 3 years to finish a bottle. But I got a new one, and it broke out my whole skin. And so I look very good at the wedding, and I look very bad right now.
Was this your friend? Oh, this was the fancy friend wedding. Is that what it was?
Yeah. It was my friend Haley getting married, and it was very fancy. It was at the Paramore Estate in Silver Lake. There was a lady who was like painted gray and was posing like a statue, but wasn't. She was a lady, not a statue. And like, I walked by her and she moved the tiniest bit, and I was like, "Holy fucking shit!" And I like almost dropped my drink. It was wild. There was a live band.
Wait, was this lady naked?
No. You just assume all statues are naked.
Well, I mean,
She
I'm
had
thinking.
like a toga thing on with like a hood. It was like it was like the whole outfit was like painted gray like marble, but she did have clothes on.
And
It'd
she
be better
just
if she
wait.
was naked.
She stood there the whole time.
Totally still. I'll send you a picture of it. Just completely still. We all thought she was a statue until I looked over and I saw like her dress move in the wind, and I like almost dropped like my drink, my appetizers, and I got so scared. I was like, they're gonna have startle old people, cause a
What's
stroke.
but what's the point of this at a wedding? You hire somebody to pretend to be a statue at your
It's
wedding,
weird, right? It's like, okay, here's this like estate covered in statues, but this statue is a lady, not a real statue.
and it's almost like you're torturing somebody. You're paying them to just like have to stand there.
That is what I would think also, except that both my brother and my uncle are musicians who make a lot of their money off of like wedding stuff, like being in wedding bands and like doing like that kind of thing. And my brother is also a contortionist, and so he gets paid to like go be on the floor at parties and do all kinds of shit like that. And like, he also basically acts as decoration, but he also gets paid pretty handsomely for it, and it's like a pretty good job. So like that's what I assume was happening
Wait,
here.
being a contortionist is a pretty good job.
I mean, it like as a contortionist, doing weddings is a pretty good job because they pay well.
So wait, people will get married and hire your brother to come like bend his body into weird shapes for them?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He'll like put on like a little outfit and just like be kind of walking around the party and be like, check this out, and I'll like do some crazy shit, and they'll take a picture with him or whatever.
So wait, do you have this? Are you like unusually flexible like your brother?
Yes, but like I don't ever practice, so I'm not actually like I'm not like I'm unreasonably flexible for somebody who never ever practices. But
Oh,
my brother practices every day, so he's like insane. But like I'm nowhere near that. But like I can do like a really deep back bend or put my feet behind my head like without really trying.
so he has to like train to do this.
Oh yeah, he's an athlete. He's like every single day out there with weights on his hands and feet doing all kinds of crazy fucking shit. He's like for years, he's probably the healthiest person I know.
Wow. That's wild. Okay. So
Yeah,
you went to a wedding this weekend. I didn't do anything like that. I was just doing family stuff. I was working. I started the monologue again on this show. I'm starting to do experiments and content, and and this is part of it. But I went to like I'm a very much a creature of habit, as I think you know.
oh yeah, you're like, I'm gonna go on my morning hikes and then I'm gonna take my dog on a walk. I'm gonna go to the farmer's market. I'm gonna get a pedicure. It's
I'm not gonna get a. I get a pedicure like once or twice a year. It feels like, but
I feel
uh,
like you said for a while that it was every 2 weeks.
no, no, it's not at all. But I do think I'm not
No,
ashamed of that. I think it's good for men and
I
women to
agree.
take care of their feet. I think it's like
I
it's
couldn't
almost
agree
like
more.
weird that it's like somehow become taboo to just like take basic care of yourself,
I
and
mean, not amongst women, but like men are like, keeping myself clean is gay or whatever. That's
right,
like,
right.
that's
Yeah, I don't have that problem. And I think
why they use 3-in-1 shower products.
yeah, it's gross. So I think men especially should lose that insecurity and take care of their feet. But um I went to the farmer's market and I have this issue. Like I like the farmer's market because I like the produce and stuff that you can get there.
Sure.
It's really good in California. The produce is grown just up the
Love the
road.
farmer's market.
And so, but I go there and there are signs that say like no dogs allowed. And
And
yet,
you're like, but not my dog, because my dog's really good.
no,
Oh,
no,
you don't bring your dog. Okay.
absolutely not. Because I follow the rules. And
Same. I don't understand why people bring their dogs to things that they shouldn't and like don't have their dogs on leashes. It's like, what the fuck?
well,
Like,
listen, these are people who are putting their produce out there and it's on like some of it's on lower tables or it's just
yeah.
crowded. You go into these little tent areas and it's just crowded. And like, if
You
a
don't know
dog,
who's afraid of dogs or who's like, not comfortable.
right. And so, but I feel like there are all these people, and I don't know if it's a Los Angeles thing or if it's just a human thing, who are entitled and feel like the rules. I feel like such a grumpy old man, but it pisses me off because I feel like there's a sense of entitlement where they just stroll right past these like no dogs allowed sign, like
Yeah,
with
they're like,
their
can't see that. That's just,
doesn't
can't
apply to
read
me.
that.
Doesn't
Yeah.
apply to me. Doesn't
My dog's
apply
really good.
my doodle. It's always a fucking doodle. It's like this is my doodle and it doesn't apply to me and I'm going to walk my dog in there and I'm the kind of person who sort of quietly bristles at this. I never say anything. I'm not confrontational. And like in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But it does bother me. I don't like entitlement. And I don't like
Yeah.
this sense of like I'm better than everybody else. And that's kind of how it reads to me. But yesterday, I was at the farmer's market. I've been going to this farmer's market for years. I've been experiencing this sort of inner turmoil. Quiet.
For years.
Yeah, for years, quietly, just hating, like
Quietly suffering.
quietly seething. And yesterday, this guy and his girlfriend or his wife were walking their little dog through the farmer's market. And all of a sudden, the dog just squats and just
Oh my
pisses.
god. See, that's why you don't bring your fucking dog to the farmer's market. Now everyone's jumping in a puddle of piss.
And it's pissing all over the place. And this guy walks by and he just says to them, he goes, you shouldn't bring your dog to the farmer's market. Like
Yeah, true.
he confronts them. And the man with the dog says, "Oh, I'm sorry, she's just a nervous dog." And he's like, and the
Yeah,
guy's just
don't
like,
bring her to the farmer's market. Like,
that's what the guy said. He was like,
yeah, good.
so he was acting out like this kind of like repressed aggression that I
Inner
feel.
fantasy you have.
Yes. And it was like,
Yeah.
it was so satisfying. And I was like in a kind of like frozen stupor, like at close range, just like watching it unfold. And the guy would not give an inch. He was just like, yeah, don't bring your fucking dog into this area.
Like,
And
what the fuck?
I am a dog lover. I love dogs. I've
Same.
always had dogs. There's nothing about me that has any problem with dogs, but
No, but like, good for that guy. It's like, that's like, I love dogs, and that's why I'm not bringing my fucking like tiny barky Pomeranian to the fucking farmer's market. Like,
yeah.
baby dog would not survive, so I don't bring him. Like,
And
duh.
just like be considerate. Just be
Yeah.
considerate of other people. And like,
Yeah, or like people who don't pick up their dog's poop, or like people who have their dog off leash in like inappropriate areas. Like, what the fuck? Just like, don't you want your dog happy also? Like,
yeah,
what the
yeah.
fuck is the point?
I just, yeah. So anyway, it was kind of satisfying. That was like that's where
I
I'm at
feel
in life.
like
That's the highlight of my weekend, was just seeing this guy yell at these people.
I feel like more often than not, I'm the guy doing the thing that other people are like satisfied about, like being like, "Don't do this thing," or like I remember once being at the pharmacy and like I needed to get pain medication because I had just had one of my several emergency mouth surgeries that I've had in my life for some reason. I was all swollen and fucked up, and like they were like for some reason struggling to give me my pain meds even though like they were at the pharmacy. And then this guy's like, well, this woman is in charge of the pharmacy today, and it's this whole thing. And I was like, this woman is in charge of the pharmacy today? Like, okay, my mouth is bleeding and I need my pain medication right now. It was like full Julianne Moore and Magnolia shit. And like there was like three women behind me in line who were just like laughing the whole time, like just like clearly had dealt with this pharmacist like a bunch of times and were feeling very satisfied in my total emotional breakdown at him.
Wait, what is this? You've had you've had multiple mouth surgeries?
I have. There was one in New York. I had my. This one was insane. My wisdom teeth got like not impacted, but I got an abscess in the like back of my mouth on one of my wisdom teeth, and I didn't realize it until like my cheek was so swollen. It felt like there was like a golf ball inside of it, and like I went to this dentist, like emergency dentist in like Midtown, and the dentist was like, well, normally we'd put you under general anesthesia to drain an abscess, but you've eaten today, so we can't do that. So we're gonna numb your mouth and drain the abscess, and sorry. And I was like, okay. And they gave me a bunch of laughing gas and numbed my mouth, and they fixed the abscess, and they took out three of my wisdom teeth. And like I was fucked up and swollen for days on a bunch of antibiotics and on a bunch of pain medication. And then recently, I it was like my teeth were like hurting. I was having like sore teeth, and then later in the night, like or like I had like my tooth had hurt for a couple weeks, honestly, and then later, like in one night, the pain was so bad. I was like, oh, like I've got like a pretty high pain tolerance. Like I'll like just sit through some shit, but I was like, oh, this is like an emergency, and then my mouth was swelling, and it was a whole thing, and I had to go get a root canal because I had a calcified root apparently. And so they had to get like way the fuck up there, and it was a whole situation.
In the middle of the night?
Yeah, yeah.
They did it in the middle of the night?
I went like I had to like get antibiotics, and then they were like, your fucking face is swollen, like you should come in. Dentist came in, and it was like, yeah, middle of the night, just big swollen face. He was like, well, if your face is swelling, that's an emergency, so we should probably fix this right now.
So wait, that's interesting. I didn't know that dentists were in like the middle of the night emergency, like they're
Well,
ready to
there is
roll.
one in all of West Los Angeles who is a 24-hour emergency dentist, and he sucks, but he was open 24 hours, so I had no choice.
Fuck. Okay. Well, this show, I think, or these, this series is going to be about culture, popular culture, which I don't know anything
Yeah.
about. And you're going to teach me? Is that what's going to happen?
Well, I'm going to try to teach you. I mean, I don't know how teachable you're going to be, but we're going to do our best.
All right.
I mean, I already had you watch an episode of The Real Housewives, and you seemed like totally bewildered by it. So that's a start on something. But
Yeah, let's tell people what I watched. I mean, I watched,
yeah,
what was it? Season 2, episode 10? Was that what it was?
that's meaningless.
Real Housewives of Salt Lake City?
There you go. It was the episode where Jen Shaw gets arrested in the Beauty Lab parking lot. For any fans who are listening, they'll know exactly what I'm referring to. It's an iconic episode. What are your first thoughts on it? Just we haven't even discussed it. I just had you watch it cold.
I think the first thing I said to you, because we were texting about it, as I said that like this is the most chaotic shit ever. And to drop me, I almost felt like it was a little bit cruel to drop me into the middle of like season 2, because I don't have any context. I've never really, I've watched a little bit of Real Housewives before, but never the Salt Lake City season. And all these women are on this bus for some reason, like this like kind of deluxe
See, this
bus.
is how I get people to start watching Real Housewives, is I'm like, okay, watch this one episode in the middle of a season that's really exciting. And if you want context, you watch the rest of the season. But I know you're not going to do that. So I had you just watch one. But it's a Sprinter van. It's not a bus. That's very important to the Housewives universe.
But like, do all the housewives roll in Sprinter vans?
No, so they do when they do like they'll do group trips like with all the housewives together, and so they're going on a group trip right now to Vail, which I guess is in Ohio somewhere, cause or Utah, not Ohio.
No, in Colorado, Vail, Colorado.
Is it in Colorado? It's
Yeah.
driving distance from Salt Lake City, I guess, because they're taking a van there.
No, it must be. They must be going up to like Park City, right?
No, they're in Park City. That's where they all live.
Oh,
So they live in, or some of them live in Park City, some of them live in Salt Lake. They live in like the Salt Lake City general area, all of them. And they're going in a Sprinter van up to a group vacation in Vail. And then as they're in the Sprinter van in the Beauty Lab parking lot, Beauty Lab being a series of like med spas owned by Heather Gay, who's one of the ladies in the van. As they're there, Homeland Security shows up, NYPD shows up, and they take Jennifer Shaw into custody. Or rather, do you want to explain what happens, Brad, in your view, when they take Jen Shaw?
Okay, so I'm watching, and these women are on this Sprinter van, and first of all, NYPD can just show up in another state and start.
It's not NYPD, but it was like New York something or other. It was like Homeland Security, the feds, and then New York something.
Like a New York, what do you call it? Not like a. It's like what was
It's,
Tommy Lee Jones in The Fugitive? He was like a marshal. Was he
yeah,
like
it was maybe a marshal. Yeah, it was some shit like that because she was like tried in New York State or in like Manhattan Criminal Court or whatever for her financial crimes. Which, in the episode, weirdly, Whitney is the one who understands what her financial crimes are more than like anybody else in the van. It seems.
And what's so this was like not staged. This was some real shit that just
No,
happened out of nowhere.
yeah, it was not staged. And like one of the ways that you can tell that something isn't staged in Real Housewives sometimes is when they break the fourth wall. This is another very important thing in the Housewives universe is when the producers are on camera and they're like, "What's going on?" And you like see the producers talking and like being part of the show. That's they're breaking the fourth wall there, and that's like they try to never ever do that unless it's like an emergency situation. And like so like there's still the question at this point in the series, and I guess now as to who called the cops on Jen Shaw. How do they know she was in the Beauty Lab parking lot? Like, was it somebody who was in the van, who was in production? Who else knew that they were in the Beauty Lab parking lot? Who could have called the feds on Jen Shaw? Who called the feds on Jen Shaw? We don't really know.
Do you have
But we know that
theories?
they've been investigating her. Well, so like the crazy thing about that episode is that it's only like the second most exciting episode in the series because in season 4 when Jen Shaw is in prison they literally cast a federal witness for the prosecution against Jen Shaw as a full-time Real Housewife, and in the season finale she reveals that she has been running like a anonymous Instagram account where she's been posting clips of Jen Shaw that were used in the federal trial against her, like without telling anybody, therefore surpassing the two-party consent laws by just saying, oh, an anonymous Instagram account posted this video of Jen Shaw admitting to illegal crimes. I didn't illegally record it, but now it's posted on Instagram, so, and then the feds could use it against Jen Shaw. And they literally cast her in the next season, leading to the most shocking season of that show.
And you love this shit. You watch all
I
of it.
love this shit. I watch all of it. I've watched like a humiliating amount of franchises, like every city
I know
basically.
you're into Vanderpump Rules, Real
Mm-hmm.
Housewives. What else is like?
Mm-hmm.
What else is in your rotation?
Should I name all the Real Housewives that I've watched, like all the different cities? Because there's like a lot in rotation there. Like that's like the bulk of Bravo viewing will be in the Real Housewives universe.
But is that and is like Real Housewives Salt Lake City like considered to be like the masterpiece season or the best?
That's like a very much debated question as to like what the best Real Housewives is. Everyone has a different opinion. But in my experience, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City is best for getting people who are not into Real Housewives into Real Housewives because it's just so insane and the women are like so uniquely psychotic in a way that isn't really like happening in other Housewives franchises that like it's just compelling. You can't help it. Like you're just like, why the fuck is she getting arrested for financial crimes in the parking lot of a med spa in Park City, Utah? When they're like, it's and then married her grandpa and Meredith's in the bathtub, and you're like, what the fuck?
She
Like,
married her grandpa. Is that? I guess that's legal in Utah. You can do
oh,
that in Utah.
it's her step grandpa technically. So it was the man that her grandma was married to before her grandma died, and then she married him in order to skip her mom and get the church that he owned, her mom was supposed to marry him, and instead Mary was like, I'm going to marry him and get the church, and then her mom is not speaking to her anymore because she took her inheritance.
So are you just like hate watching? Is that like the fun of it? Like you hate these people and it's fun to hate them?
Yes, you hate the people. I mean, that's a big part of it for me, is that like there's no good guys and there's no bad guys. So like a lot of times people, when they start watching Real Housewives, will be like, well, who's the bad guy? Like, who's the good guy? Who am I rooting for? You're not rooting for anybody. They're all awful. And so when bad things inevitably happen to all of them, you don't really feel that bad because they're all like the worst rich people actually on the planet.
Well, maybe that's the fun. It's like you like watching
Yeah,
bad things happen to these bad people.
to bad rich people specifically. Like that, like I like watching like Beverly Hills, for example. It's pretty much all about like the lives of like former child stars and like the Hilton family and just like these people who are like so wealthy and so like profoundly like feral, like have not been like socialized in regular society and are just like having these parties where they're like having like someone from like Birkin come from Mermaids with these Birkin bags, like they're like special to go sell them at someone's house at a party. Just like the most like awful rich people shit you've ever seen in your life. And then when it's like, oh, they're arrested for financial crimes, you're kind of like, haha, like maybe you shouldn't have been like so like, I don't know, in your face about your fucking awful wealth. Like maybe you shouldn't have done all the terrible things that was required of you to gain that
Well,
wealth.
wait. So like are Real Housewives getting arrested for financial crimes? Is this like a running theme from say
Oh, big time. Yeah, absolutely. Like the percentage of housewives who are financial criminals, like it's got to be like so much higher than just like the percentage of rich people who are financial criminals in general. Like there is like at least one per series, like one per franchise. Like New Jersey, for example, like Teresa Giudice, who's like the star of Real Housewives of New Jersey, in season 2 was tried for defrauding the IRS, which like she didn't even know about. It was like her husband who was defrauding the IRS, but her name was on all of the tax like documents or whatever. She went to prison for like a year and they paused the whole show for her. She went to prison and then came back and they had like a Teresa going to prison special and then Teresa coming back from prison special after she defrauded the IRS. And that was,
how do they find these people? Who like and who is it? Andy Cohen? I think you were telling me it was Andy Cohen.
yes,
He started this.
Andy Cohen is like the devil works hard, but Andy Cohen works harder. Like this whole fucking thing is masterminded by Andy Cohen and this Wizard of Oz ass motherfucker who nobody knows what the fuck he looks like. I mean, you could probably look him up, but I have no idea what he looks like.
Wh-
Alex Baskin is this guy's name, and so it's Andy Cohen and Alex Baskin. They do like they send out like people to different cities to like do research into the rich social circles of that city to see if it's like entertaining enough to potentially be a Real Housewives series. And then if they decide that it is, they'll kind of go within that friend group and cast only the most interesting people. So like you'll have the friend groups are like made up of like the housewives are made up of people who know each other, but not always people who are like best friends. It's like if you imagine like your sort of acquaintances or sometimes some of your close friends are cast in the show beside you, and then you kind of are forced into like being close friends because of the show.
Well,
And
I
like they
yeah, but I feel like these and I mean when I was watching this episode, the dynamic between these women and this happens with almost any reality series. The only one of which I should say that I've ever really
yeah, what
watched.
have you watched?
The only one that I've ever really watched and I have great admiration for it is The Hills on MTV.
Okay, see, The Hills is a great reality show, and it's more like Vanderpump Rules than Real Housewives is. But like Real Housewives is like if The Hills was if they were all 20 to 30 years older than they are in The Hills, and like way more rich. So like they had just gotten richer and richer and richer, and then the show happened like 20 to 30 years later. That's Real Housewives.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's interesting as like a particular genre, like an art or what do you got? A televisual genre, a cinematic genre. Like, do you have any reverence, like real, like deep appreciation for reality TV, or is it something that you just consider to be like junk food that you?
No, I have a deep, like, actual artistic admiration for reality television. And, like, I do take the John Waters approach to art, which is like, I love trash, give me more trash. I think trash is great art. I'm into it. I think Real Housewives is camp, like, maybe more camp than, like, anything on television currently. I appreciate that. But also, like, I mean, it's my feeling that all rich people in America should be forced to have a Real Housewives-esque television show that they are not allowed to be getting final edit on. I think all rich people should be forced into this circumstance where we get to watch every aspect of their lives in the most humiliating manner possible. Because if you get to have $1 million billion, then like that seems like a fair trade-off to me.
What I couldn't get over when I was watching this show, and I don't mean to sound like mean, but
No, please.
these women seem like idiots.
Yeah, they are
And yet
idiots.
I'm like, they're like so filthy rich. I'm like, and I'm here I am, like, we're like sweating over every nickel, right? Like we're like
Yeah.
working class people or whatever, or middle
That's
class.
why we get to watch the show and hate it, is the thing. That's why we get to watch the show and be like, these fucking assholes out here just flaunting their wealth, just being like, we're gonna do the most like gigantic party that costs $200,000 or whatever, and I'm a fucking idiot, and I've got terrible politics, and like I'm a mean person. Like that's like, it's like watching aliens try to pretend to be human. Like rich people are so weird and so hateful and so like criminal and just like fucking bizarre that it's like watching like, it's like a sociological experiment or something, watching these people just try to act normal even on television. Like they're so incapable of it.
I mean, it's a certain kind of rich person. I don't think all rich people are as bad as the Real
No,
Housewives.
he's picking out the app, because people who are not as bad as the Real Housewives won't go on the Real Housewives. They'll be like, I'm smart enough to know that I shouldn't be on this trashy television show because I've got money and I don't really need to. That's the other thing, is that these women are not going on there because they need money.
They want
That'd be one
fame.
thing. Right. It's they want fame. That's exactly right. They go on there because they barely get paid by Bravo. They don't even get paid that much. These women are supposed to be rich already. They just are there because they want to be on camera.
Yeah, but they're humiliating themselves.
Yeah, they're humiliating themselves. And like, shouldn't more rich people humiliate themselves on camera? I think so. I think it's good for American morale, you know? I think that like seeing Paris Hilton's mom, you know, call a DJ a fucking F word, but like, you know, gay slur F word, because he wouldn't play Michael Jackson. That I want to see that on television, you know? I want to see her humiliated in that particular way.
Good God. All right. Well, something else that I think we were talking about recently. Well, I mean, but wait, but before we get there, like, you think I should be watching Real Housewives on a regular basis?
I do. And if we want to turn this entire podcast into Brad watches Real Housewives on a regular basis, like I am there 7 days a week.
But
I mean,
I
I
don't
love
know.
it.
I don't know. Like, the thing that is, I find myself agitated after I watch this. I'm just like, who are these fucking losers? I don't want to be around these people.
That's what Tyler says. And like, I literally will put on these shows like to fall asleep if I can't fall asleep. Like something about the women talking quickly, talking over each other. It's like a comfort to me. Maybe I like raised by a single mom. I don't know. But like, it's a comfort to me. These women yelling at each other and being psychotic. Like I will fall asleep like it's a lullaby.
It has like an anesthetizing effect.
Yeah, but also like I'll do the same with like horror movies, like really scary horror movies. Like something's wrong with me, clearly. Like that's like maybe a Mira issue, but
Wow.
I genuinely think that like the Real Housewives fan base is significantly smarter and more interesting than people give them credit for, and like the way that these shows are analyzed like is telling about like class relations in America and generational relations in America, where like you'll have these women who are 50, 60, 70 even years old, and you make them incredibly famous on reality TV. And then if they don't just have a bunch of money on their own, they have to keep doing reality TV in order to like keep money happening in their bank accounts, because like they can't just get a normal job at that point. They can't just like go, you know, get a job consulting, whatever, because you're on the Real Housewives, everyone knows who you are. So it
Yeah.
puts them in this precarious level of fame without necessarily that level of wealth. And then they are just in the Bravo circuit having to do, you know, various spin-offs of Real Housewives and various other reality shows just to keep like rent happening.
And that's what Bravo is. It's just like iterations of
Yep.
Real Housewives and
Vanderpump Rules and like Summer House and stuff like that. Vanderpump Rules is like it's kind of a freak thing, because Real Housewives was always Bravo's like bread and butter, and then Vanderpump Rules like really just like shot to the top. But that's a Real Housewives spinoff also.
what does Vanderpump even mean? What is that?
Vanderpump is the last name of Lisa Vanderpump,
Oh,
who is a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, or was. And she owns a bunch of restaurants with her husband. And so Vanderpump Rules is about the wait staff at one of her restaurants in West Hollywood called Sexy Unique Restaurant, or SIR. Um, and the waiters are all completely insane.
oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brett's got his head in his hands right now. He's like,
It's
can't
just a lot
handle
to
it.
process. It's just a lot to process. But this is where our culture is, right? I guess, like, or at least where a lot of it is. And
I mean, yeah.
there was something else we were talking about recently that I wanted to bring up. It's totally unrelated, but it has to do with like baby boomer rock stars
Uh huh.
who like will not exit the stage and continue to like tour. And
Like the Rolling Stones.
yeah, they won't give it up. It's like, the stage is ours. We're going to play unto death. And like,
I
I
mean,
don't,
the Stones seem to love it. They seem to just like love being up there. Like they just like playing.
and you know what? I don't have a grudge against anybody who wants to keep doing what they love to do. I mean, what else are they supposed to do? It's all these guys
Sure.
know. They've been doing this since they were 18 years old or
You know,
whatever.
you
But
could have like a 25th baby with a 27-year-old, or keep touring, or both.
yeah, but it's like, that's the thing. It's like, is there any like moral quandary, or do you find yourself bristling at all by the fact?
I I find myself in a like I get like very angry about this issue, or like very like upset, just in that, like, for someone like the Stones, it's like, okay, you guys have money but you want to tour, like whatever, have fun. But for the music industry as a whole right now, it's like the whole model has created a situation where every artist has to tour forever if they want to make any money, basically. Like even like pretty big artists like a Billie Eilish or something like that, or a Lana Del Rey, they have to tour if they want to make money, because their masters and their publishing is owned by their record label. And so like in order to get like cash in hand, like money in their pocket, not like money 20 years from now when they can buy their masters back theoretically or whatever, they have to tour.
But isn't
And
that?
it's
But I kind
like,
of like that. It's like, yeah, you're a musician. Get out and play for the people.
but it's like you like it until they're 90 years old and they're still touring, and you're like, that's weird. Why are they still touring when like they're like old and should be retired, because they can't make any money
But
otherwise?
Billie Eilish is loaded. But everybody, it's like the lower ranks of musicians.
It's, yeah, it's like not the Billie Eilishes, but like I like Lana Del Rey is honestly not a bad example. I think she actually truly has to tour if she wants to continue to make enough money to be able to buy her masters back one day. And like that's how you can ever possibly retire, is to like be able to buy your masters and publishing back from the record label, or
What
to do what Taylor Swift did, which is insane, but that's like another story.
she like re-recorded all of her.
She essentially did covers of all of her albums and then made deals with like radio stations and stuff so that they would only play that version of her song and not the version owned by her old record label or Scooter Braun.
Jesus Christ! What a fucked up business. Like that. There's got to be a better way than these record
You'd
labels
think.
just owning you.
I mean, you'd really think, you know, it's like there was once a time when like there were certain record labels like Discord or whatever where like, you know, they were moral and they like didn't take the masters of musicians or whatever, but those like they're never the giant pop labels. It's never UMG or whatever who's like gonna do that unless it's Taylor Swift.
So you have no problem with baby boomers not ceding the stage. I mean, ultimately, it's fine. They can keep playing.
Ultimately, I think it's fine, because either they just want to keep playing and like, okay, then people can see them if they want or not, and that's fine, or they're stuck doing it. And like, so I kind of don't begrudge them either way. Also, it's interesting hearing it come from you, considering that you still go to Grateful Dead shows, or did up until the very end.
Yeah, I mean, I do
Like
like.
John Mayer Grateful Dead shows,
I
like to
like
this
boomer. I
day.
like boomer music. I mean, I guess like that is true. Like those rock. I mean, I love the Rolling Stones. I mean, there's.
You love boomer music. I mean, you love Gen X music too, but like you love boomer music.
Yeah, I was like, I would say like as a teenager, I was I was weaned on the classic rock of the baby boomer generation way more than I was like the music of my own generation. That came later. Like I got
What is
into
the music of your generation?
like Pavement, Nirvana.
Okay.
Uh, you know, there's a lot of bands, but
Grunge, whatever the fuck.
grunge, whatever the fuck. Yeah, like that stuff was kind of around in high school, but I really got into a lot of that music like in college. I don't know. But I
But like
love.
in college, you were like following the Grateful Dead and Fish and like just like an
I
acid
never
head.
followed. I never followed. I mean, I went to like some distant shows of the
See,
Grateful
this is
Dead.
what you said. You're like, I never followed the Grateful Dead. I just went to like 7 of their shows on this one tour and like 10 of their shows on this other tour. Like, what's
No. I got
following?
in a car and drove to like San Francisco to see them play, but I didn't like follow the tour. That's following. Those are people who like camp and like. I never did that.
Right.
I never did that. But I'm.
Okay, so you were like kind of not really a deadhead. You were only like half deadhead.
I was kind of like, yeah, but I am like over my life. I am an unabashed like huge fan of
How
them.
many shows have you been to over your life?
Oh, but of the Grateful Dead, I saw like
Yeah.
25. Not that many.
25, is that including the John Mayer Grateful Dead, or is that
No,
just Jer Bear?
no, that's
That's just Jer Bear?
Jer Bear 25 shows.
Okay, so what about John Mayer Grateful Dead?
Maybe 4 or 5.
Wow, so
And
you've gone to like 30 Grateful Dead shows.
yeah, and like
How
Grateful Dead cover bands. I've seen all sorts of shit.
wow. How much is a Grateful Dead ticket?
Back in the day, it was probably like, no, I mean, it was probably like $50 or I don't even know.
What about like now, like John Mayer Grateful Dead?
Do you want to be know the truth? I have a friend who just knows how to get tickets. He's like super connected. So like whenever I go, like I went to see Fish at the Sphere, and it's because my friend just called me up and was like, "Come to Vegas, I got you a ticket." And like,
Yeah, because the fucking Sphere like sucks and is not like worth
okay,
that
can I
money
just
at
say?
all.
Can I just say I'm maybe the one person. I hated the fucking Sphere. I felt like I
fucking
crawled
sucks.
inside the asshole of a phone, and like that's what it felt like. It's like crawling inside of a phone to see a concert and just having this like really in your face digital experience of live music. To
Even
me,
like on psychedelics, you don't think it would be like fun?
I think it's the
sucks.
only way that it would be fun. I think it's
Right.
the only way, unless you're somebody who just thinks it's like you're like nerding out on like digital video art or something. But like to me, it was it's like a venue designed by a tech bro with a blank check.
I mean, that is what it is.
And the vibes to me were weird.
Yeah.
And then you can't really see the band. They're way down below. And the
fuck?
sound I thought was mediocre. The art was, I mean, the venue is like the visual thing is breathtaking,
Right.
but it's because the video is so bright, the venue itself is super bright. So I was at
That's weird.
I was at this Fish show, and
Just
you're
like daylight in there. Like,
yes, and you're looking
my
around, and it's
God.
all these people like in their 50s,
Fish fans.
wearing like Tiva sandals and like glitter shirts, like dancing badly, and I'm like, okay, I don't need
And
to
you're
see
like,
this.
normally when I see Fish, I don't have to look at these people.
Yeah.
Like, I can at least like ignore these guys.
It's like dark. I want to be in the darkness, and I want to be outside. You
Yeah,
probably.
what kind of like show is in daylight like that? That seems fucking awful. Like, I saw like a promotional thing for the Sphere with like U2. I guess they had like a residency there. And like even in this promotional video, it was just them being like upset at like the sound and like the like lighting, and not like they're like, how the fuck are we gonna like play it here and make it sound good? Like, I don't get it. Like,
the Sphere is the ultimate FOMO venue, and it's it's great for sharing clips on social media because it looks
Right.
so cool and it makes everybody want to go and feel like they're missing out. But my whole theory of the Sphere is that anybody who's not like tripping on mushrooms secretly doesn't like it.
yeah.
And I think the bands who play there
Yeah, they
fucking
probably
hate it. They hate it.
Oh my god. They probably get paid so much money.
Yeah, but they don't want to say anything because they don't want to spoil everybody's supposed good time. But it's like the emperor not wearing clothes. It's like I think the Sphere actually
no one's
sucks,
having a good time.
but nobody wants to admit it because they just want to feel cool that they were at the Sphere and they get to post like an Instagram story about it.
And because it's like it was so expensive for like the city of Las Vegas and all of its residents to like create it with fucking tax money and whatnot. Like,
I mean, look,
it's just like it has to be good somehow. Like, it can't just be a failure like automatically.
I mean, it's a technological marvel. It's like a 40-story LED screen.
But it seems like you'd want to watch like a National Geographic video in there or something. Like, you'd want to watch like an IMAX movie in there. Like, that'd be cool.
That would be cool, but like that's what it is. It's like an IMAX theater on steroids,
Right.
and like. The truth is that I'd rather just be outside camping or like going for a hike in the Sierras than going to the fucking Sphere to sit in a dome and watch like a simulation of it.
I mean, like I am not a big fan of being out in nature, but like maybe same. Like the sphere just does not seem good. At least if you were like outside, you like wouldn't have to look at people and it wouldn't be like broad daylight during the entire concert.
Just like dancing. Maybe I'm, I don't know. Maybe I'm just grumpy or I wasn't high enough, but like I'm also too old. I don't know. Like it's just,
Yeah, too old and not high enough sounds right.
yeah.
That's how I
So
feel about most shows.
I want to complain about something else that's sort of related, but like speaking of not liking to be outside, I love to be outside and I hike all the time, which I know you don't like to do. But I want to get your opinion on whether or not you think it's okay for people to wear external speakers while hiking in nature.
Ah, I mean the no, I mean no, it's not okay. I do admire the bravery of it. Like I don't think I would ever be bold enough to like go out in public and just play the music I'm listening to like out loud on speakers. Like that's like wild to me. That seems like so
Or like a,
like
a
I
podcast too. Like I hear people listening to like
what the
political
fuck?
news, like just like walking through the woods or like
That's
on a
so
trail.
weird. No headphones, like no earbuds, nothing. That's
It's
like
it's like the dog at the farmer's market thing. It's so inconsiderate. Like
yeah, that's so bizarre. Like, except like seeing that like in New York, like on the subway or something, somebody will be like playing rap on speakers or whatever, and I'm like, all right,
well,
whatever, fine.
that's an
But
urban environment. That's an like
right,
I'm fine if on the city streets of Los Angeles somebody wants to have like their
right,
speak great, but like on a trail in like I think the
it doesn't
general
feel
consent
right.
no, and the consensus is like we're out here to get away
Right,
from the urban chaos. Like have a little
right.
respect.
Like, if you want to listen to music, wear headphones. Like, just
Yes.
don't do it that loudly. Like, it's not necessary. If you can afford speakers, you can get headphones. Like, what's the point of it?
I haven't said anything. I want to, like, you would not believe, like, maybe this is the wrong way to be in life. Like, maybe I need to start speaking out. But I feel like every single time I go hiking in Los Angeles, there's at least one person I pass where I'm just seething as they listen to like some awful fucking pop song at like, and they don't, it's not even subtle, right? They're like cranking the volume up. They want you to know what they're listening
That's the
to.
crazy thing. It's like it's one thing if it's like, okay, my headphones broke and I like want to listen to music, like maybe put it on like quietly in like some like a speaker like near your ear or whatever, that maybe I could see, but like loudly bumping it, like that's bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I think it's just like as a general rule, I think it's like proper etiquette when you're hiking in any kind of nature to wear headphones and be courteous
Yeah,
to your fellow walkers.
I think so.
I also want to talk about Ben Affleck.
Yes, I'm always ready.
I mean, we're like trying to, think about what is happening in the culture and like what people like. Everything that I know about pop culture
Oh
tends.
yeah, he's getting divorced, right?
Well, I mean, maybe I haven't seen any
Oh,
confirmation. I haven't seen anything official, but it seems like the signs have been there, and like everything that I know about popular culture tends to be gleaned from like scrolling on Twitter. That's
or
really,
like me.
or like you, yeah, or like you're telling me things, or my daughter might say something. It's like all kind of peripherally gathered in little bits and pieces, but like rarely with like any kind of comprehensive understanding. And what I find interesting about Ben Affleck, and maybe somewhat relatable and like endearing, is how he's become in the culture this sort of like emblem, or
It's like a sad sack.
yeah, he's like the sad celeb, and
Yeah.
he's a symbol of sadness and just like like life is just overwhelming.
Just struggle, just like always having too many Dunkin' Donuts coffees in his hand and a lit cigarette in his mouth and just like having a rough time, just
And,
always looking like he's having a rough day.
and he and J-Lo, to be honest, like often look like they're fighting. Like they're out in public, they look like they can't stand each other.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
I
he's
mean that
miserable.
yeah. It seems like he had like some kind of manic episode and was like, this woman's the love of my life, and like I let her go, and this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And now he's like, oh no, like the cocaine wore off, and like I'm married to Jennifer Lopez, and I'm fucked.
Well, and I don't want to like I don't like to like tap dance on people's graves. I don't like to see people struggling in
I do.
relationships, But no, but like here's the thing about I mean, I guess both of them, but I feel like he's been married once and he's dated a lot. How many I feel like she's been married like 5 times at this point.
Has she? She was married to that Alex something, right?
And then she
Like
was
a
married to
soccer player or
Mark
something.
what's his name?
Mark
The
Anthony.
Mark Anthony, and then
And was she married to Ben Affleck? She wasn't married to
maybe they
Ben
were
Affleck.
engaged.
They weren't married twice though. They've been. Were they married this time?
They're married now, yeah.
They're married now, but they weren't before.
Right. I think they were engaged and broke up. and then
Okay.
came back together. I don't know, but I just feel like,
Has Ben Affleck ever been married?
yeah, he was married to Jennifer Garner. They had like 4 kids or
Right,
3
right.
kids.
Jennifer Gardner. I forgot about Jennifer Gardner.
Yeah.
They were together for a long ass time.
But that was it for him. And then after that, he dated it a little bit, and then he remarried Jennifer Lopez. And like, I don't know, man. I just feel like he's become like, I think we were talking, and I was saying that like he has taken over the mantle of like sad celebrity. And because I remember like the sad Keanu meme used to be on
Right.
my Twitter feed. It was like this picture of Keanu Reeves looking really
On
sad.
like a park bench.
Yeah,
Like
but you were saying that Keanu Reeves is not actually a sad person. I don't know.
I don't think like I think like Keanu, that meme was funny because Keanu's like not a sad person. He seems like he's a deeply like I don't know, secure person. Like he's just like a chill guy who like has like a nice time and like gives everybody like nice gifts and is like a joy on set to deal with. And like no, like so like seeing him in that like sad sack position was like very funny, I think. Like to be like, oh, it's sad Keanu, not happy Keanu like he normally is.
Okay,
But Ben
so
Affleck is in that 100% of the time. He's just sad Keanu, like for his entire life.
sad Ben. He's just like, yeah, he's just miserable in a
I
way.
appreciate about him, like, and I'm not a smoker. I've got asthma, and I don't like really being around smokers that much. But like, I mean, I don't really mind it. But like, I appreciate how openly he smokes. I feel like that's pretty rare for celebrities now to just be like out in public, just smoking cigarettes nonstop. He is smoking cigarettes nonstop, and like could give a fuck. And like, I do kind of appreciate that. It seems rare these days.
Well, but I kind of feel like cigarettes are making a comeback.
Kind of,
Like
right? Like
Natalie Portman just got photographed smoking cigarettes in England with
I
some.
feel like that photo is causing cigarettes to make a comeback. Like she just looks so happy and carefree smoking that cigarette.
That's
Like
what I mean. I think people are like, it's like some sort of weird backlash that's happening where like cigarettes receded and we all sort of said, ooh, they're gross and they're bad for you. And now that like it's the ultimate taboo, it's like, yeah, fuck it. I'm going to smoke a
yeah.
cigarette in public and get
And like
photo.
vaping, I feel like vaping was like a thing for like a long time and still is, but now it's kind of just like we all know it's just as bad as smoking cigarettes basically. So people are like, fuck it, I might as well just smoke cigarettes because that's like more fun.
Yeah. Listen, if I were going to smoke, I would not vape. I would just have a
I would
cigarette.
just smoke too, yeah.
Yeah.
And both are like equally bad for my asthma. I can't breathe for like either way, so I would probably smoke instead of vaping because it's like more fun.
It's just, I feel like if you're going to go there, just go there. There's no,
Yeah,
you don't like, let's quit pretending with this.
yeah.
Like,
Don't go halfway.
like this
Like,
flavored vape or whatever. Like it's so childish. Like, no,
yeah,
I want my cigarette to taste like raspberries. Like, come on,
yeah. It's like be an adult. Just
just
fucking
grow
smoke
up.
cigarettes. Like,
Yeah.
don't doesn't need to taste like cotton candy or whatever. Like, you're not Lana Del Rey. You can't pull that off.
Yeah. She can kind of pull that off. Maybe.
She can pull that off, but like only because she's literally Lana Del Rey.
I like Lana.
I love Lana.
I've-
I think she's one of the best artists of our generation.
I think she's the
easily.
most interesting pop star, female pop star,
She's
contemporary female pop star.
yeah, I think that's. I mean, I can't really think of anyone who I find more interesting. Like she's doing things that are genuinely new and that are genuinely influential, and she has been since the very beginning. Like she's one of a kind. Like I think that like Norman fucking Rockwell will go down in history like as one of the best albums like ever. I genuinely believe that. Like I think she's like Dylan level on that album.
Well, I think there's something about her whole like project, like
She's got a
this,
great aesthetic. She's
like
got a whole like
the whole old Hollywood, like femme
mhm.
fatale thing. And like
But then
just,
also kind of like Americana, like Midwestern, like she like had that like she like worked at Waffle House for a couple days just for fun.
yeah.
Like and it felt so on brand for her that I wasn't even like, oh, a rich person pretending to have a job. It was just like, oh yeah, Lana Del Rey's working at Waffle House. Like that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, she's like kind of like, I don't even know what her background is or where she's from, but didn't she date a cop too? Like it was like
She did, yeah. She dated like someone who was like a is on Cops or something like that. He was like on one of those shows. Like
how did that hit you? You hate cops.
I hated it. Yeah, it was awful. But like I think if anybody in the entire world can like make dating a cop be like aesthetically pleasing, it's Lana Del Rey. Like she's the only things in America that make me feel patriotic, the only art, American art that makes me feel patriotic is Lana Del Rey and David Lynch. As in like the only art that's like about America and American are Lana Del Rey and David Lynch.
Interesting. I feel like David Lynch would like, I mean, there is some, I can see the connection. I can hear Lana Del Rey as like a soundtrack to a David Lynch
Oh
film.
yeah,
They're like,
absolutely.
you can,
Like they go together like in a weird way, and I think it's because of this like weird like midwest like cursed Midwestern like old Hollywood mixture of things where like I can't remember where David Lynch grew up. I want to say like Detroit or something
no,
like
it was
that. Like
Montana. Wasn't he from
was it
Montana?
Montana? It's like somewhere like very suburban,
But
like
he might have moved
very.
around. He might have moved to like Washington D.C. or something. I feel like.
No, he was in like maybe he did when he was like a teenager or something. Yeah, he like went to college somewhere, but he like grew up in some very small Midwestern town, and like I see that vibe in both him and Lana Del Rey. Like both of their art feels very American in a way that doesn't feel gross to me or doesn't feel like aesthetically shitty. It doesn't feel tacky. It feels like they're doing something actually interesting with like American aesthetics.
I'm a cursed Midwesterner. Maybe that's
Yeah,
why.
you
Maybe
are.
that's why you gravitate to my art. Is that part of what it is?
Is that what it is? Because you're a
Right.
cursed Midwesterner?
Yeah.
Okay, the American art that I like is Lana Del Rey, David Lynch, and Brad Listi.
Well, but I think what you're talking about too is like there's like some sort of like American vibe in it, but they're also it's like a commentary on it. Like it's a sly and affecting commentary on
Yes.
like the falsity and like the toxicity and the darkness of the American
Yeah,
dream.
like the way that like Lynchian almost describes kind of like an uncanny thing about like it is kind of like American dream or something. It's very like seeing like the most like I don't know, like Republican America of like, like Midwestern suburban white people kind of like experiencing like a nightmare version of America. Like I think of like Mulholland Drive a lot, and she like shows up to LA. She's like so excited to be like an actor and to be like part of Hollywood, and then turns slowly into this kind of like dark, falling apart, just like horrific version of herself that's also equally American. And like that's like the what I love about David Lynch and Lana Del Rey. It's like showing how much the American dream is like hell on earth, literally.
All right, everybody. Well, that does it for today's episode. No, actually, I do want to talk about a couple of more things before I let you go.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were talking about Ben Affleck, and I think we had exchanged words briefly about Good Will Hunting, and I said something to the effect of like, "This is a big movie for Generation X." It's just
Mm-hmm.
one of those signature films that came out and did well. That
That movie is so
featured
stupid.
and like they were like in their 20s, so like we were in our 20s, and it was like seeing
Right.
members of our generation sort of hit it big in Hollywood. They won the Oscar for the screenplay, and
Man, seeing young white men be that successful
they were
is really just, it's a
yeah.
heartwarming.
But I mean, it was like the quintessential like young white male triumph in Hollywood, and they were
Young,
like,
rich white men who are handsome and have just won the genetic lottery. That is just
but
an underdog tale.
I'm trying to think, that would have been 1997, so you would have been like 4 years old,
Yeah.
right? You were young, but like you have to
Yeah.
to just like not refresh your memory, but just to like clue you in on what it was like then. Like they were the belles of the ball. Like the media, they were media darlings. They were the
I'm sure.
cute best buddies who wrote this screenplay and made it happen. And then they win the Oscar. And like if you watch their Oscar speech, they were sort of like leaning into the adorable thing, and like, we're from Boston, and like they
Right,
gave
we're
like
best friends, and
they gave a shout out to like some bar in Boston. It was the whole thing.
they're like, we're not as racist as Marky Mark, we're we're the better Bostonites.
Yeah. But I'm just wondering, I think like the question that comes to mind, I mean, that's not the only movie. There's like Dazed and Confused and Do the Right Thing and Reality Bites and Heathers and Fight Club.
Oh,
And
Heathers is a great movie.
yeah, Say Anything. But these are like Gen X, like signature movies.
Say Anything sucks.
I'm curious to know, like, what are signature movies for millennials?
Oh, that's a good question.
Like, what were movies that when you were like, 10 years ago were happening that were like a big deal for you and your friends?
God, I feel like it's going to be so lame. I want to say like the Hunger Games, like that, like, or unfortunately, like the Harry Potter movies. I was like a little young. I wasn't like in high school for those, but like the Harry Potter, well, maybe for the later Harry Potter movies. I never cared that much about Harry, like not to even, like not trying to sound like cool or whatever, but like I like stopped reading at the fourth book and just kind of like lost interest.
That's where we
those were
that's
really
where we got
big.
off the train. My daughter read them all. My son, like, we got like to, I want to say the third or fourth book, and he just like, it
Yeah.
was just like, I can't do this anymore. It's like,
But
this
yeah,
is,
after the fourth book, I was just like, I don't like care about this. I'm gonna read like other trashy books, like whatever. But like,
I'm gonna go watch Vanderpump Rules and
exactly. I'm gonna go read the Twilight books, more like it, like when you're 12 or whatever. Like that's. I mean, Twilight was a big one. In terms of like good movies that don't suck. I mean, in high school, like early 2000s horror was really big. That was like, I feel like there was a whole era of horror movies in the early 2000s where like a lot of them sucked, but like you have some iconic ones like the Saw movies or like the Paranormal Activity movies or like these like various franchises that started when I was in high school.
but everything you're saying is franchises.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what millennials grew up with is franchises.
Ugh.
Like, I mean, what it's awful. It fucking sucks shit. Like, I mean, like, what is a good millennial movie that is like? I mean, I think of movies that I saw when I was like little, and like Princess Diaries. That's like a classic millennial movie. I would say like that's like we all grew up with Princess Diaries. God, what is like
What's like a, but like, what's like an Oscar winner? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, is there like an Oscar bait film?
right? I mean, I feel like I guess like thinking about like college age, like maybe God, what fucking movies came out in like 2012? The
That were
Fast
like
and the Furious.
another franchise. This is where things are
They're
going.
all franchises. Everything is going to shit, man. Like, what is like, I literally cannot think of a non franchise movie that I saw in high school, like in
Like a
theaters.
Timothy Chalamet vehicle, or
I mean, I'm a little too old for Timothy Chalamet, I would say. Like,
what about
he's,
Shia LaBeouf? Is he your generation?
yeah, but he was like Disney Channel in my generation, like he was still like that era, Shia LaBeouf.
So
Like,
who are like the A-list millennials? Like who are like the Matt and
I feel
Ben,
like
or like the,
girls, like Lena Dunham's Girls, that was like definitely like it's a TV show, but like that was like a thing.
okay. Here I will interject because this I have seen. I
Yes.
will say that season 1 of Girls
It's incredible.
is incredible.
It's an incredible show. I feel
Yeah.
like people like did not give it enough credit because like they didn't I feel like people fundamentally didn't understand that like nobody in the show was supposed to be likable. They're all nightmare people and Lena Dunham knew it and wrote them that way. That's the whole point, is that they're all kind of these like self-obsessed, like just narcissistic, like just nightmare people. And
Yeah.
like it's so perfect. Like they're all like nightmares in their own perfect, unique way. Like I think Allison Williams deserved like Oscars or Emmys or whatever the fuck for that role as Marnie. She was so funny. She was so cringe. Like it hurt to watch her like sing that song to her ex-boyfriend and shit.
Yeah,
So
I think
good.
it kind of did, like most TV shows, that like as the seasons went on, it got like a little bit lesser. But like,
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, from a pilot or the first episode, so good.
God, when she went to the gynecologist and she was like, my whole life, I've been afraid that I had AIDS and I've been so afraid of having AIDS and HIV. And now I'm coming here. And now that you're telling me I don't have AIDS, it's like maybe all this time I was just wanting AIDS. And like the nurse is just like, that's a terrible thing to say.
Yeah.
It's so perfect.
I feel like that's a really, really masterful, like, young person. That might be like a good place to end. Like that, like,
Yeah.
Girls
That's
was
iconic.
that was like a good, iconic, like higher brow
Yeah.
millennial, but it's a TV show.
But everyone watched it also. Like it was like higher brow, but like we were all like watching it weekly and it was like I remember it being like that and like Game of Thrones. Like we like that was like everyone my age watched that once a week.
Okay, I watched Game of Thrones too, and it's the most unique viewing experience I think that I've ever had watching anything on television or streaming, because I could not tell you. I watched every minute of that entire fucking series.
And you couldn't say what the fuck
I
happened.
have no idea. I don't know who
You
the
know what,
characters
Brad?
are.
I watched the show and I read 2 of the books and I still couldn't tell you what the fuck happened.
Yeah, it was beautiful to watch. It was stimulating. You could kind of pick up on these subplots. There was lots of like sex
Yeah, it
and
was fascinating. I
dragons.
watched every episode. Like,
But to follow that Byzantine plot is the most tedious, like, mind-numbing project.
yeah,
And I just lost the thread. And at some point, that's the thing, is that like we all watched it and just sort of let it wash over us. And I guess like there was who was the little like just terrible little like dark prince, and then there's
Oh, that was great.
and then
Yeah.
Cersei, what was her name?
Cersei, yeah,
Yeah,
Cersei Lannister.
Cersei Lannister and the
She was
incest,
great.
the whole thing.
Oh my god, that whole incest plot line is just incredible.
Yeah, so there's like little bits and pieces that you could hang on to that I think pulled you through, but like the larger world of the show and like the degree of, I think, careful attention
Yeah, absolutely.
that series and that story requires of you, I think exceeds what most people are capable of in the modern era.
I mean, it sees what I'm capable of, certainly. Like, I mean, I think watching the show, people lost the thread so much that, like, when in the end, like, spoiler alert, like, Daenerys is, like, becomes, like, this crazy evil queen who, like, wants to kill everybody or whatever, everybody was shocked. But to me, I'm watching it, I'm like, this bitch has always killed everybody. She's, like, always going into fucking various towns and being like, I'm gonna murder the king with my dragons and I'm gonna take over. Now I'm the queen here. Like, fuck y'all. Like, that's been her whole thing. And I think people were, like, so caught up in the plot and the characters. They were like, well, but we like her. So, like, she can't be evil. That ending makes no sense.
Right. Well, no, she was like, I remember on Twitter, she was like held up as like this sort of
Mother of dragons.
icon of female empowerment.
Yeah,
like
and
she
it's
was
like, sorry, she's like a slave master. Like, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So anyway, I think we'll wrap up episode 1 of Brad and Mira for the culture here. I think we could just keep going. I mean, it feels like you could just kind of endlessly talk about it. But we'll come back. We'll come back again next week, and we'll talk about more that's happening in the culture. And I think we're going to try too in this series to respond to what's happening, especially if there's something big that happens. We'll try to respond maybe in like close to real time. If something like super, like if some sort of like super climactic thing happens in the culture, like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce get married or something, we'll try to be on it.
Yeah, we have a bet about that.
Yeah,
Brad owes me $100 if they don't get married and have a baby by next year.
Is that really what it was? Is that the timeline?
You don't even ask me for any money. You just have to pay me.
Yeah. All right. Well, Mira, it's good talking with you.
Good talking to you, Brad.
We'll talk to you next week. Yeah, about the culture.